Well, hello. Hello, hello, hello. Is everybody comfortable? Does everybody have their popcorn? Can everybody hear me? My apologies for starting an hour late. I got up early, went to work, finished my clients, and then immediately passed out. I took a nap that it went a little too long. So I could have come on at 4, but I don't think you would have wanted to have seen me. I was So anyway, I got up from my happy nappy, went and had a shower, made myself a little snacky snack, coffee and toast. What's not to like? And now I'm here with you, beautiful spirits, for our happy hour Thursdays, hot topics. And my goodness, is it not hot? It's hotter than hot, and that's not just because I'm good looking. I mean, oy vavoy. I mean, say it with me. Oy vavoy. L'chaim, l'chaim, everyone. We've got a lot to talk about. We've got a huge show. This is our hot topics get together, like I said, on Thursdays. We can talk about anything and everything you like, politics, gossip, you name it. I'm here for you. And hopefully we'll have a fun hour hanging out. We only have one rule when we get together, when we hang out, and that is be kind to all. Yeah, so that all can be kind to you. We do this as a salon. We kind of discuss, we hang out, everybody can contribute. But we don't call names. We believe in civilized discourse. We want to move away from that whole way of talking about politics. We want to respect each other, right? Okay, so having said that, I want to give a special shout out to our latest members. Thank you so much for your support of the channel. Giving a shout out to Miss Betty Green. Hi, Betty. How you doing? Thank you, Betty, for joining us. Tani Acosta, LGBTQ rights advocate and member, good friend of mine, has rejoined. Yay! Thank you, Tani. Emily Jones is in the house. Thank you, Emily Jones, for being a member. Auntie P. Kitty. Hello, Auntie P. Kitty. Lovely name. Thank you for joining us. Selenite Junkie. Hello. Thank you for being a member. And S. Kim has rejoined. Great to have you back here as well. Special shout out also to the people over at Patreon who've been supporting us over at the Patreon channel where we put up special videos, etc. Jill Groth. Thank you so much, Jill Groth. Appreciation to you. Pauline Ruth Zender Sweeter. Zender Sweeter. Hello, and thank you for being a member. So I just wanted to get that out of the way. So, my food, I had some organic jam. I love strawberries, unsweetened, but I don't know what they sweetened it with. It seemed plenty sweet, but it had no sugar in it. With on toast, yes. Nice buttered toast with, yes. And a cup of coffee. That was my snacky poo. And I have coffee and ice water. So go ahead. We'll turn the camera around, as they say. Tell me where you're coming from. Introduce yourself to the group while people are gathering around. Are you having a snack? Are you having something to drink? What's the weather like? Where are you coming from? We have, of course, first Betty Green, who just became an elder and an empath. Lilia Corverbius, hello. Tammy Osborne, hi to you. Bob Lands, hi. Julian Sands, yes, he's gotten lost on a hike. Wow, I hope he wasn't hurt in a mudslide. Carol V wants to know if Putin is still alive. A Snow, never hike alone. Amen to that. Peggy Egghart. Oh, yeah, I'm trying to put up more mini readings because people can't stay for the long shows. So at night, I do my meditations. I have quite interesting, I got to be George Santos. I got to be him. He was my target. I also got to be Prince Charles. So that was kind of, or King Charles. So that was kind of interesting. Desiree Robato, how you doing? Good to see you. Thank you, Sig Sire, for that donation. Choice Pietras, hello, and thank you for your support of the channel and your recent membership. Nancy Waterchick, yes, you're in New Mexico. Very nice. Yes, Alec Baldwin has been charged. Alec Baldwin has been charged with accidental homicide along with Hannah Gutierrez Reed. Involuntary manslaughter from the Santa Fe district attorney is deciding to charge him. We can definitely go ahead and we can look at the future of, I heard from my guides he could get 3 years, 3 years prison. They usually, I think it's what, a mandatory 5 to 7. So if he's got good behavior, they might get him out in 3. So he could be facing a prison sentence. Hi, Be Grateful. Good to see you. Sue Ann T. Hello. Jean Antle. His daughter, by the way, is expecting a baby. And she made a statement that she's having a really hard pregnancy, especially when there are jerks in the family or something. She doesn't get along with her dad, I guess. Jean Antle, greetings from Hawaii. Greetings to you. Hi, Pam CHKS. Wendy Burt, always good to see you, Wendy. Thanks for being here. Catherine Lane, hello. Hello to you. And Dylan, hello. LC, thank you for being a member. Be Grateful, always appreciate you. And thank you for your membership. Joe Tilson is here, always keeping us honest. Gigi Pardo Lord, thank you for being a member. Barbara Teresa, hello. Well, oh, Daddy's Camp sold and you already sold it, Wendy? Good for you. I think we saw that coming in for you. Yeah, didn't we say 3 weeks, a couple weeks? Yeah, so yeah. I'm one of those readers, I try to get timelines for people. Hi, Rich Sherman. Tugril, hello. Melissa Miller, thank you for being here. Much appreciation. Cartomancy Mesquite, amazing reader. Wonderful, doing great work as a remote viewer in our class. We get together on Tuesdays for class. If you'd like to become a member, at the Fairies and Angels level, we get together on Saturdays for personal readings, and we have a tea time together at noon on Saturdays if you join at the Fairies and Angels level. Elders, Empaths, and Healers, we get together on Tuesday night for training exercises and improving your abilities as a remote viewer. And that's $9.99 if you decide to be a member, and it really helps the channel. If you decide to be a benefactor, it's $99 a month, and it comes with a personal reading with me once a month and personal coaching. So that's also a really great thing to do, along with all the other benefits. So Joel Tilson is asking, is this the calm before the storm? I don't know. Do you think that it's calm? Do you think it's calm? So I did a remote view with George Santos. And it was interesting because sometimes you're remote viewing and then you fall into a dream, right? So George Santos is denying, I would never kill a dog, right? One of the things he's been accused of is raising money on GoFundMe, and the money didn't go to save the veteran's dog had stomach cancer, and instead he kept the money for himself, evidently. The dog died, and the veteran had to panhandle to raise the money to euthanize the dog. So that's pretty easy to prove if it's true, because you can just look at the GoFundMe and follow the money. And if the veterinarian didn't receive the money, then the money was stolen. So look, When you put yourself in the shoes of George Santos, I felt like I was mentally and emotionally 3 years old. This is a very similar mental state to how I feel when I put myself in the shoes of Donald Trump. Just a very repressed intellect, very emotionally underdeveloped, like a 3-year-old. And 3-year-olds go through a period where they start to learn how to share, right? That's when you're 3 years old, right? So it's mine, right? This is my house. It's my toy, right? That's being a 3-year-old. And so when I put myself into the shoes of George Santos and I was being asked to leave the house, no, this is my house. I'm not leaving. So that was an interesting insight as George, being an empath, getting to be George Santos. I found myself, what happens when you try to drag a kid out of Toys R Us or something like that? There's even more resistance. The child sits down. So this is not going to be an easy person to get out of the House of Representatives because of where he is at mentally and emotionally. He's like a little kid. And so just like a little kid, he's going to sit there and have a temper tantrum and la, 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 I don't know, no, no. And also the other thing we know about extremely young kids is that they make up a lot of stories about magic and magical things. And so that's basically who is now sitting in the House of Representatives. Somebody who is crazy, unfortunately, mentally ill, emotionally stunted, is refusing to leave. The situation is so bad that his own constituents are going to have to physically get him out of there, and that includes the Republicans. It's interesting because I saw that it could take 2-3 months to get him out of there. He is leaving. People wanted to know, well, why is it taking so long? Thinking that 2-3 months is a long time considering how bad it is, some of the stuff that's coming out about him. And the reason is because he does not want to leave. And no matter how bad the exposés get, it's not like he's going to walk out in shame and leave. He's going to continue to deny it. No, it didn't happen. Even when there are photographs of him in a dress, he's going to continue to deny it, even though there's irrefutable proof that the veterinarian did not get the money that he collected from the fundraiser, from the GoFundMe. So the only way they're going to get him out of there is through legal means, which means through him possibly being arrested and dragged out of there or being sent back to Brazil, which is we can certainly look at it, but this is somebody who's going to fight tooth and nail to stay where he's at. I was thinking of that song by, who sings it? Marie Osmond. Paper roses, imitation, like the phony imitation of you. We just don't know who this guy is. So a couple of the names coming for him: George Santos, Anthony DeVolder, and now the latest, he ran for Miss Drag Queen. He ran for he ran, but he didn't win the Miss Drag Queen. Her name, Kitara Rivace. He's now pushing an anti-LGBTQ bill in the House, so that's a vote. So he's voting. He shouldn't even be there, and his vote is going to attack the LGBTQ community, the trans community, etc. So that's what's so disturbing about him. I want to give a gratitude to Will-o'-the-Wisp for that $10 donation. Thank you. Thank you very much. Much appreciated. Hi, Valerie Schmidt, Springfield, Oregon, beautiful part of the world. Yes, a fellow Oregonian. Always good to see you here. So, Joel, I don't know, do you consider it calm? Do you consider it calm? We're also looking at the debt ceiling challenge right now. I don't know. Is that calm? Oh, Claudia is having ginger tea. Tea and ginger cookies. I love ginger cookies. In Astoria, New York, also a great place. I really like Astoria, New York. I spent a little time there. So, Anthony DeVolder Santos as well, says Kathy Lamson. Interesting. Well, Kathy Lamson, yeah, exactly. She's making an interesting point here. I'll go ahead and replace the pin for Kathy. Thanks for your comments, by the way. She says there are many Republicans that don't like Santos. If they toss him, he doesn't get his $175,000 for life, thankfully. Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things we can blitz on if you all want to blitz on it. Also, David Crosby, another thing that happened today, he has passed. He was 81 years old, which just goes to show if you drink too much, drinking, partying, sometimes it can actually help you live a long, happy life. So, not too old, but a good age, 81, Yeah, so he has passed. What a great musical career he had. Lisa wants to know if Putin is dead. I don't believe so. I've been hearing this lately, that why are people talking about, is Putin dead? I don't think he is. I think he's got a health concern, though. So we can definitely look at that. Janny T is having spinach ravioli casserole. Oh, that sounds delicious. Yummy. And a special shout out to Janny T for her gracious donation of $10 to the channel. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Oh, Betty Green, thank you so much. You've been a member for 2 weeks. You discovered me 2 weeks ago. Yeah, you became a member today. I saw. Thank you so much. So Zelensky mentioned that nobody has seen Putin. He could be having another health crisis. I think he came out recently, right? Because he wants to be able to wrap up the war soon. Geocosmic wants to know if Harry went to speak to his dad. Let me give you the remote I had. This was a crazy dream. Do you guys want to hear my dream about the royal family? It was wild. So I was hanging out in London town, with a bunch of blokes, and this really cool guy owned a pub in London, and he invited a whole bunch of us into the pub, and I said, do you have ale? He said, of course we have ale. It's a pub. So we all go in, and we're sitting around, and we're having a pint, and we're having a great time. And then King Charles is outside. Somehow we spot him outside, and everybody says to King Charles, come into the pub, come have a pint with us, come on. Regular people, right? We're the lowly little nothings, right? We're the little commoners. So he joins us, kind of like Harry, right? A regular guy. And he becomes one of us, and we're all having a great conversation, and it's almost like he just joins the crowd, and nobody's even making a big deal that it's King Charles. It's just he's one of us in the pub having a beer, giving an opinion like the rest, like us, right? And then this woman shows up who's the British equivalent of White Lotus. Looks just like the actress from White Lotus, and she's this British aristocrat, and she begins to have a meltdown. Oh my God, the king is in that pub with those people, those commoners. Oh my, get him out, we must get him out. This is a horrible tragedy for the crown. He can't be seen in there with those people, regular people. So then she screams and rants and raves, and she grabs her daughter and says, get him. And the king is having a great time. And the next thing you know, they put their hands on him and they physically drag him out of the pub while he's sitting there trying to drink his pint. Well, in the next dream, we're hiking along the cliffs of Dover, and it's the same group of people, and we're having a rollicking good time. And then we see a man painting, just sitting talking to himself and painting on the cliffs of Dover, and it's King Charles. And he basically has quit. He's cashed out. He wants nothing to do with being a royal. He's got his organic oat milk company or whatever he's producing. And he retires somewhere, and he's painting the cliffs of Dover, and he's talking about that person walking by and this person and how they show up in his painting. And it's almost like he becomes anonymous. It's as if he wanted to be anonymous. So didn't he used to be somebody one day? And then as we come along the corner, we're looking out at this beautiful sky, and it's like this beautiful night over Britain, and everyone's admiring the stars and how beautiful it is. And he simply blends into the general population. So I thought it was kind of an interesting remote view in the sense that this idea that in the book Spare, Harry talks about how his mother wanted to escape, wanted to get away, wanted to hide, how she would put on wigs when she would go out with her boyfriend so that she could go to a regular movie and eat popcorn and be a regular person. And you wonder if Charles doesn't envy his son, the Spare, for the exact same reason. And reading the Spare is rather interesting because when we're born, we all find ourselves in a family dynamic of who our family thinks we should be, right? So in the case of the Spare, he was expected to be the second, least important. His life didn't matter quite as much. If something happens to the older, you're the Spare. If he needs a kidney, you're the Spare. And how part of becoming an independent adult is that we have to push away from whatever the box is our family puts us in, right? So if I was told by my family that I was second best, that I was not as important as the other child in the family, I would certainly rebel against that, because I would want to believe that my life has just as much value as anybody else's. I would not accept that my life has less purpose and less value. And so it makes sense that the most sane thing to do would be to cut cords with that dynamic so that you could go off and find your own values and your own purpose in life. But very few of us would not want to rebel against a family that told us that we were second. Every child has a right to feel that their life is just as valuable as any other member of the family. So you can really understand the dynamic. But in the dream with Charles, it was almost like he wanted to join his son and disappear into being just a regular person. So it was a very insightful dream, but also very funny. All right. So I think a couple other things. Biden has approved a $2.5 billion aid to Ukraine. I don't know if you know, there's some tension with Germany. They're going to, I guess, donate some tanks, but then they also want the United States to donate some stuff. It can't just be Germany that's going to be donating. So I think that may be what went into the decision by Biden to donate $2.5 billion to Ukraine. We can certainly look at Ukraine, and we can also look at the future of Putin today, if all of you would like to do that. I think what I'd like to do now is to do the Empaths Prayer, just so that we can get ourselves into some positive energy. And then I think we'll blitz away. If you have a question and it's not seen, maybe Joel or Joyce or any of the other moderators, if they can just reframe it for me, because I tend to see the big blue. I don't have the best vision in the world, in case you hadn't noticed. So if I pass your question up, it's not because I don't care. It's because I can't see. So would you all like to hear the Empaths Prayer? And you're certainly, of course, welcome to say it with me if you like. And then when we get the order to blitz away, we will certainly do so. Does that work for everybody? Looks like I'm getting the order here to do the Empaths Prayer. All right, let's do it. Okay, I want to call on white light protection for myself and this community as we ask permission from Spirit to access the Akashic records. We call on our spirit guides and our good angels to be with us. Please give us the clarity and the wisdom that is needed to empower all of us on our journeys, to make the best decisions for ourselves, our families, the planet, the people we love, but also to help those that we may have strife with. And together collectively we say, Amen. So whenever I get the order, we will blitz away. Be sure if you can add a red question mark to make it easy. If your questions are not being answered, just let the moderators know, and I will do my best with the time remaining. Looks like the first, we do have the order to blitz away from Rebecca. Thank you. Maggie, who is our first question that I can see? All right. Thank you for the question, Maggie. She wants to know, what will Russian defector from Wagner Group, Andrei Medvedev, say in his interviews? Let's look and see what we can find out about the Wagner Group. It looks like the Wagner Group is doing whatever it wants. It's gone rogue, and it's not even taking orders from Putin anymore. It's almost like it's hijacking Ukraine war, stealing and doing whatever it likes, and not even listening to the people that hired them, which is a rather frightening idea. What's going on with Medvedev and the Wagner Group? So anybody that wants safe passage out, who's a soldier or who's with the Wagner Group, can get a way out. I know that Medivac, we now have Medivac coming in from Sweden. Sweden is getting people out who've been injured. They're getting medical aid in the West because of the injuries that are taking place in Ukraine. May have been part of why I saw planes coming in and Sweden coming in, because they are using their medevac system. The main thing I'm getting is anybody who chooses to throw down their weapons or leave, or in the case of the Wagner Group, I don't know how to pronounce it, they're given safe passage out of there to get back to whatever their country was originally, which leads me to think that something is about to go down, because they're being told in the remote that they can be given safe passage out of there, but they need to go now. So we think about the fact that America just gave a $2.5 billion increase, the fact that we're going to be giving weapons, tanks coming in from Germany, but this is also looking like larger forms of military equipment are going to be coming in, and it almost is like a blitzkrieg against the Wagner Group, like this huge attack against certain major military targets. And so for that reason, they're given a heads up that this is going to be happening, and they're given an opportunity to evacuate, safe passage. You can also see Knight of Cups, which is usually a mediator in war, coming and giving an offer and being offered safe passage. There is a strong alliance that is forming in NATO between various different groups, various different factions in order to end the war in Ukraine. And I feel even that unbeknownst to Putin, there are people in high positions of power. Russia is beginning to split and new alliances are being formed. As I'd mentioned in previous remotes, even though China has said that they want to have a strong relationship with Russia in the future, that doesn't mean they want to have a strong relationship with Putin in the future. So we're seeing this strong alliance starting to come in, and military experts coming in. Heartbreak lies in the future, taking away their weapons. The Wagner group is being pushed out and they're evacuating. They're surrounded also. They're going to be surrounded soon. Some of them are coming, they're Chechnyan fighters. They're coming also from Central Asia. They're getting aid also, I think, from Iran in terms of ballistic missiles, but it has something to do with going back overseas, and there's something about a raid coming. They have a heads up that this is going to be happening in the next 2 to 3 weeks. So if the aid package came up, $2.5 billion of military aid, they have some time to get out of there before America and Germany go in and just really, they want this finished sooner rather than later. The other in relationship to the question would be the Wagner group and many losses on the battlefield. Hopes and fears that peace will reign, happiness. In the end, it's the intellectuals, the military experts that take control of the situation. The battle will intensify. There will be some areas with strong holdouts, but we're going to be seeing some intense fighting in Ukraine probably in the next couple of weeks, with many paid fighters from the Wagner group fleeing to their native lands to avoid these pitch battles. That's what I see. In terms of the man that got out of there, there's really not much to say other than the fact that he can encourage them to flee before all of this major fighting begins. So that is what I see. All right, here's a question from Spirit Beyond the Stars. I need a little bit more water. The chicken factories. As we've talked about in previous remotes, one of the issues with factory farming is close quarters, which can lead to the spread of certain types of viruses like avian flu, which is now broken out into the wildlife. So it goes from the factories to the wild bird populations. I think there's something like 10,000 snow geese in Colorado, if I'm not mistaken, have died due to avian flu. And so it's harming bird populations, not just the chickens, but throughout the world. And again, it goes back to factory farming. This is why it's not feasible to continue factory farming. There's simply no healthy way to do factory farming. And this is why you have beyond, what is it called? Just eggs, just chicken, which is they make chicken protein, just the protein sequence of chicken can be, certain yeast can make it. So it's really a yeast, you're eating yeast byproduct, but it's chicken protein. So just eggs and just chicken, which is going to be made from yeast, is going to be on the market. We're really seeing the end of the industry for this reason. It's just too much of an environmental hassle, also too much risk. It can also get into the human population, and it's zootic. It can go from one type of life form to another. So it can go from birds to swine to pigs, then it becomes swine flu, and that's deadly to humans as well. So again, is it worth the risk when there are cleaner ways of producing, chicken protein, right? So I've always said that in the next 5 to 10 years, we're going to see the end of factory farming, sooner rather than later. But let's take a look. Yeah, now it's going into none of that will happen if we start making chicken breast from yeast, right? From feathers. They get the stem cells from feathers of birds. I would love to be able to have a steak again, you know. Israel's doing a steak. Filet mignon, yes. Who doesn't want a filet mignon? Yes. I just see the organic industry taking off really rapidly. It has to do with the foundation of the business, huge entrepreneurship over new ways of producing, global changes in the market, and you can see rapid changes as well. We get our wish regarding changes in business. People have been very patient. Research has been going on for a long time, and the meat industry is finished. I always see it going bankrupt. It can't sustain itself. It can't sustain itself, and it won't sustain itself, and it comes to an end. And if you can get a perfect filet mignon without hurting an animal, and it's low fat, which is also good. So that's probably where we're headed. With the chicken industry, I think that could happen even sooner. 3 to 4 years, we'll start seeing it as regularly available on shelves. It's already been approved by the FDA. And a couple more years for beef and pork, I think. Fish also they're starting to do. All right, here's a question coming from Sandra Dobrats. Did 45 have any listening devices before he left the White House? They usually have intelligence agency goes through and regularly checks that stuff because there have been spies that have attempted to get into the White House, and they go through all kinds of security in and out. The main thing was that he was stealing information and getting it over to foreign lobbyists, and the fact that he had foreign bank accounts. And so that was the main thing that he got into trouble with. As many of you know, Michael Cohen met with Braggs again, the New York district attorney. When I tried to get in and see what was going on, there were some nice people there. Everything was taped, and I put myself in the shoes of Michael Cohen. They were showing me documents and asking me to confirm the documents, the authenticity of the documents, the signatures, read the documents, confirm it, look at another document. So he was looking at and confirming. And that makes sense because if they're going to do a grand jury, and if he has to speak to a grand jury, the prosecutors will show him those same documents, and then he's going to have to say, yes, this is my signature. Yes, this is Ivanka's signature. Yes, I was there when they signed it. So it appears that what we're seeing based on the remote of Michael Cohen was that they were asking him a series of questions regarding tax evasion and fraud at the Trump organization, and that the questions they were asking were prepping him for, I guess I can go ahead and say it, were prepping him for a grand jury to indict Trump. Yeah. So that's what that was. It was prepping for a grand jury. They're prepping him for a grand jury. How y'all feel about that? A little better? Okay. Let's look into it. Family secrets. Trump facing prison, a judgment coming. Yeah, they're prepping for a grand jury. Look, it goes back to what we had said, that Trump is being encouraged to surrender or cooperate to avoid a greater sentence, because this is headed towards a grand jury. This is a card that has to do with legacy, but the dark aspects are family secrets and gossiping in the family regarding Trump, who faces jail, judgment coming down. They're very close. Okay, I got it. They're very close to a grand jury. He's being given opportunity, even now, Trump is, to cooperate to avoid a deposition and to avoid a grand jury investigation, which would probably result in him being charged. His lawyers are looking at everything. There's fighting between Trump's lawyers. Many of them want to drag it out, possibly for financial reasons. His lawyers are not in agreement about what should be done. But yeah, that is what's going on with Cohen at this time. They are doing the final touches on what will be a grand jury. Okay, so next question. The men that left Russia to avoid being pulled into service have a problem coming home. Will they? That's a really good question. Let's take a look. Well, Putin's going to be gone, right? So if Putin's going to be gone, will it even matter? Oh, some people are guaranteed their jobs back. If you are an expert in a profession, this is the feed. I'm getting it now. If you have a professional career as a professor or something like that, if you're a highly essential worker and you left in order to protest the war or to avoid service or something like that, because they've lost essential workers, you are guaranteed a contract. If you come back and take your old job back, you are guaranteed that there will be no prosecution. That's what they're saying. To be very clear, if you were an essential worker and you left to protest the war, the government is saying, we can give you a contract guaranteeing your job back with there's not going to be any consequences. You will be safe to return back, and you cannot be prosecuted. And the reason you can't be prosecuted had to do with whatever the laws were. So I'll show you the cards. They want to be guaranteed safety if they return, justice, and then a new contract being offered to the people that left, some kind of collapse in the market, and then attempting to rebuild the family or the community, the hopes and fears, the person being offered a sweet deal if you come back, along with legal protection. People don't trust it, though. They're afraid that they still could be harassed, prosecuted, etc. But the economic collapse that Russia is facing right now is so serious that they need to be very serious about agreeing not to prosecute essential workers when they come back. And that seems to be what they're saying. Yeah. Okay, let's see. What were the Russians doing on July? I think it came out that they were swearing their allegiance, as sick as it is, to Russia being an ally of the United States. It's really sick stuff. On July 4th. Oh my God, why aren't they in prison? It's so bad. Oh my God. They were hosted. They were hosted. They were, the Russians are a very good host. They'll put you in the nicest hotel. They'll treat you with the utmost respect. You will like them if you are hosted by the Russians. They were hosted probably by Putin. It was an invitation. They felt that it would benefit them. When people are giving you stuff and treating you like gold, of course, you can think these go great. It's a very easy form of manipulation. And it was very smart on the part of Putin because he was building alliances with people that were high-ranking members in the American government. It was about alliances, future alliances. He was building alliances. Yeah, Jim Jordan is in a lot of trouble because of that stuff. So this is a question that's come up a lot. Is Putin still alive? I don't know why people are wondering if Putin's alive. What, did something happen? I was watching Linda G. I'm glad I came on an hour later because Linda G was evidently on at 4. So everything works out. Yeah, so let's take a look. What's going on with Putin's health? Oh, Zelensky was saying. Oh, Zelensky said he thought Putin might be dead. Well, we knew that he was sick. I think it's public information now that he had thyroid cancer, and then they said it had metastasized. Oh my God. Kim Jong-un, nobody. The only time I just see when I see Kim Jong-un, it's some guy with a partial prosthetic on. You can even see the tape sometimes. That's not Kim Jong-un. I used to be an extra in Hollywood. I know what a prosthetic looks like. That's very funny, though. They're using Hollywood prosthetics. Oh, my God. So funny. All right. Is Putin still alive? He has a fear of being captured. You know, this is something that's come up before with Putin, is that he fears assassination from within. I don't see him dead, but I see him fearing assassination from within. Is it possible he's under house arrest? Possibly, because you have this 9 of Wands, which could indicate a house arrest. I always feel like some other group comes in, takes control of the situation if they're negotiating a peace deal with the West. And if the West is coming in with 2.5 billion, and if we go into the remote and we see that the Wagner group is given 2.5 weeks to get the heck out of there, and they're fleeing back to Central Asia or wherever they came from, that leads me to think that the West is coming in. That the West is coming in a really big way, and that this is over, and it's probably over before the spring, and they can see the writing on the wall, in which case, if you get a card like the 9 of Wands, it could indicate that he's under house arrest or he's somehow contained. The other in relationship with him, which would be his opposition, is the 8th house, and it shows the 8th house winning the war. And it's also a 1-year period. So the war's been going on for about 10 months. So wrapping up possibly within a year, which would be in about 8 weeks, we could see the end of the war, possibly sooner. The hope and the fear is the Star. And then the final outcome is Ace of Pentacles, which is wealth coming into the situation. What's interesting is just how much damage the Russians did in terms of hackers, etc., being responsible for multiple revolutions, whether it's Peru or the money they put into Venezuela, or the United States, Brazil. And now the crazy stuff going on with George Santos. And the weird thing about George Santos is that a lot of his crazy is just his own crazy and is not necessarily uh, linked. He gets this money coming in from Russia and who knows what, but he's really mentally 3 years old, and he's just like a 3-year-old. He doesn't want to leave, and he feels like everything belongs to him. He grabs it and then he says it's mine. And just like a 3-year-old, he makes up stories, and then they're true because he wants them to be true. So this could be that he is still under protection by his government, but he's isolated and in control. He's possibly under house arrest. We're victorious, though. The West wins the war because we're his opposition, and the sword of victory lies with the West. So we win the war. But the tentacles of corruption go beyond Putin to the people that are paying for these protests, the oligarchs. It's Putin, it's also the oligarchs. So they're losing their mega yachts, right? Which is always what Robert Mueller said was going to happen, right? The taking of the yachts, confiscating the yachts. Also, there were some Saudi Arabian sheiks that got involved with tons of money to blow to, also they're investigating the corruption and bribes taking place inside the Supreme Court. So this is the problem when you chase money, and money and corporations become more powerful than the country's constitution. When there are some people who have more money than the United States government has, right? And that's all very scary, and it makes us very vulnerable. And that's why Citizens United is so scary. Let's go ahead now and let's expand to finding out which countries were involved in, we know that the mega yachts, bin Salman has been up to some naughty things. We know the sheik from Dubai has been up to some naughty things. I don't know who the sheik is whose boat he was not paying his taxes. A lot of these people are being shut down due to tax evasion. One of the yachts they took was it Monte Carlo? They drug it off. But once they drag the yacht off, that's not the end of the story. The MI6, Interpol, or if they take it into U.S. waters, the FBI, the feds will go on to the mega yacht, and then they will comb it with a fine-tooth comb, looking at logs, who met who, when, where, and they'll also be looking at wire transfers. They'll go over all of the computers. In some cases, we see a lot of the yachts have just been blown up. They've just burned them to the ground or sunk them in an attempt to destroy the electronic information that linking them back to some of these bribes. It's all very exciting. And in terms of the massive amount of money in politics, like what happened to George Santos, it's another case of, well, let's grab the popcorn, because I think 4 days from now, 4 or 5 days, how long is it? We said 9 days, all heck was going to break loose. And what was that, 3-4 days ago? So yeah, another 4 or 5 days, we will get to watch another. You can follow energy, and you can follow the stream of the energy. So we have the debt ceiling, the situation with the debt ceiling happening right now. We should probably throw on the debt ceiling after we do this, but let's see which Arab countries were involved. I think Qatar also has been linked to some bribes. Offshore, yeah, exactly, Joel. Offshore bank accounts. Couldn't figure out. Remember that a couple of years ago when Robert Mueller, when we did the trance, and he had us look into the South America, and we couldn't figure out what he was talking about? You know what confuses me about all this, though? Y'all remember that? You know what confuses me about that vision? Like, if they knew 3 years ago that these folks were trying to destabilize South America, why couldn't they stop them 3 years ago? Was it it must have been because they were tracking these folks for so long. But you'd think that they would have given more of a heads up before it led to what it led to, considering the fact that they knew about it 3 years ago because we found out about it 3 years ago. Isn't that weird? I don't know. Very frustrating. It's like, but you knew 3 years ago because you told us 3 years ago. Isn't that weird? Okay, let's take a look. What can we find out about what was going on in the Middle East? Maybe we can give a hint. Just the wealthiest of the wealthy, might makes right. Like the crazy lady in my dream trying to drag King Charles out of the pub because she really saw people who were not aristocrats as dirty, scummy creatures that she didn't want us touching her, right? That old time aristocrat that is so bigoted and so prejudiced against the other. In the case of an aristocrat, anyone who is not an aristocrat, anyone that is not part of the inbred elite sociopaths that stole all the money, which is really what they are, is considered an inferior, dirty creature. You shouldn't be hanging with them. You shouldn't let them touch you and get their dirt on you. It was really kind of an insight into that White Lotus. They're coming for us. They're not like us. They're dirty. They're meaning anyone that's not an aristocrat. So there's also an assumption when you're an aristocrat, if you're born into that, like the Sheikh of Saudi Arabia, that there's an assumption that you are king of the world, literally, that you are the king of the world. So this person presents as the emperor. So I think a lot of it comes from Solomon, the royalty, this idea that the little people are little people, that they're lesser, that they're not equal, that they cannot win this war, an assumption of might, an assumption that they're in a position of power and that we will walk away. It will not bode well for those countries because they've created permanent damage between themselves and the United States, and we don't need their oil anymore because we're moving away from oil, which means that the economy eventually collapses in this part of the world. And then what do you have left? You have the United States angry at you because of your dirty dealings, and you're broke and you've lost your contracts or business with the United States. And now there's tension between Saudi Arabia and the United States, Qatar and the United States, Dubai and the United States, because of your behavior towards the American system. So it doesn't bode well for them, and it doesn't bode well for future relationships. You can see Three of Swords coming in the future. I think it's mostly Saudi Arabia. There's also future business work. A lot of it had to do with trying to get America to be on board for future business contracts. That's what they're saying. They were trying to create future business contracts between the United States and Saudi Arabia. It had to do with money and work. Also, if you follow the energy along with Saudi Arabia, their monarchy is going to collapse just like it's collapsing everywhere else. The people don't want it. Ultimately, people are going to want democracy. There was a really good question, the debt ceiling. We didn't get to the debt ceiling yet, and I think we're going to close pretty soon. Did somebody ask about the debt ceiling? Oh, yes. George Santos. Offshore bank accounts, yes. Do you guys want to look at the debt ceiling before we go? Because I think that's kind of a big deal. I'd like to see how that ends. Yeah? Is anybody worried about it, or are people just like, we'll work it out? We hope we'll work it out, right? If you guys could like the stream, become a member, all that good stuff, it would be great. Thank you, everyone who's supporting the channel. Before we go, let's look at the debt ceiling. I want to make sure. I can't believe that remote on George Santos. He really is going to sit down and have a temper tantrum like he's in the middle of Walmart, screaming and ranting and raving like a 3-year-old. They're going to have to drag him out of there. He's not going to leave unless they drag him out. Isn't that crazy? So he's literally 3 years old. Okay, what's going to go on with the debt ceiling? Oh, thanks, Lisa. Good question. The debt ceiling. Let's see, what is going on with the debt ceiling? So McCarthy wants McCarthy is being very stubborn, and he's saying, well, you're going to have to come with us, Democrats, because this is the deal. And he's feeling very confident. In plainer words, the Democrats will be blamed if they don't sign it. I've got the power. You're going to have to go along with me. And if you don't go along with me, people will blame the Democrats. And so the offer, and we're looking at a potential crash. So it goes back to the remotes of everything breaking out in 9 days. Well, I guess 6 now, right? It has to do with this rising tension between the Democrats and the Republicans, and the fact that the Republicans. Oh, thank you, Linda. That's so sweet of you. Appreciate it. Linda G's here. Hi, Linda. Thank you for coming, and thank you for the support. I feel, based on this information, that the pressure is going to be on Democrats to take a deal that's less than perfect from the Republicans, because if we don't take the deal, it's going to look like we're the ones that are responsible. You can see here Kevin McCarthy in a situation of confidence, and he wants us to agree to something very, very quickly, because it's the chariot card. So that's quick, go, go, go. Our response, patience. So we're measuring out the response, and we also have a justice card. So it's a situation where we look at the justice of the situation, what is ultimately best for the American people. And we're also, temperance would be a card of moderation, trying to figure out, is this the right thing to do? Is this not the right thing to do? Expect a lot of tension over the next 3 to 4 days between the Democrats and the Republicans in the House as they hammer this out, because I'm seeing a challenge here, both battling over the issue of the money and the debt ceiling. But the fact that Kevin McCarthy comes in with a 10 of cups leads me to think that he feels that he's in a very confident place, and that if we don't agree to whatever his temporary solution is, he's confident that the Democrats will be blamed. And you can see here is the crash that I was talking about. I kept seeing this crash coming in, and then reason prevails. The crash has to happen because, well, we see where the energy is headed, and also because it's a power struggle. And I think ultimately it's something that we could talk about. What do you think the Democrats are going to do? Because if they say, well, we'll approve the debt ceiling for the next month or two, but then we'll get to vote again in another week or two, and then they can keep holding the Democrats hostage, we have to agree to whatever crazy ideas they have. and agree to a temporary debt ceiling, and then they can renegotiate in another couple of weeks and renegotiate in another couple of weeks, consequently keeping the Democrats hostage as they're constantly using our debt ceiling to manipulate us to sign bills we may have a moral or ethical problem with. And the fact that we may not, I say we, but the Democrats, I'm a registered Democrat, if the Democrats don't agree with it, they are going to be held responsible for any problems with the debt ceiling. So that's ultimately the issue. The issue is, well, sure, we'll approve the debt ceiling for the next 3 weeks, and you Dems will say yes to that. And if you don't say yes to that, it's your fault, the Dems, that we had a crash in the market. And this goes back to the fact that we had said until February of 2023, we would be seeing crashes in the market. And one of the reasons that we're seeing crashes in the market is because of this kind of maneuverings. So then the Democrats may feel, wow, these people are going to tear the entire house down. We'd better approve it for the next 3 weeks. So 3 weeks comes along and then they say, well, we'll approve it for another 3 weeks if you sign the anti-LGBTQ legislation. And so what happens is it goes on and on and on and on and on. So you have to ask yourself, what would you do as a Democrat? If somebody's holding your kid hostage and saying, give me your liver, that's kind of what it looks like. I don't know. What do you think? How do you handle something like that? It's very, very scary, right? It's very, very scary. All right, everybody, we are going to wrap it up. Thank you, Linda. That was very gracious of you for that amazing donation. I much appreciate it. If you're trying to get in for a reading with me, you can go to tarotwithwhimsy.com, or you can just book directly on the Booksy site. The information is below this video. I think I do have some openings for tomorrow, and certainly some openings next week if you're trying to get in. If you're trying to get a Wizio reading from me, those are quick 5-minute pre-taped readings. I think they're $25. That information is also below the video. Have faith in the goodness of your fellow human being. We're not all bad. And for the most part, people are good. So have faith that we will come out of this and we will be better because of it. I truly believe that. Love and light to you all. I will see the members on Saturday, noon my time. That's 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you'd like to join us, that's for personal readings. And with that, I bid you all a good night. Stay out of trouble and play nice with the other children. All right. Thank you, everyone. Thank you all.